Digital Accessibility in Learning, presented by Michael Osborne. Ali Bites 2021.
Hello everyone, Michael Osborne here from Upskill Digital, and for the next 10 minutes I'm going to be talking about digital accessibility in learning. Just to make sure we're working off a shared understanding, I'm briefly going to start by exploring what accessibility in learning actually is. In the context of learning, people often think accessibility means, can the learner accomplish what they set out to do in your course without any barriers? This is a common misconception and would be a more accurate description of usability in learning. Accessibility is more specific. Accessibility means making e-learning accessible for people with disabilities and involves using technology and web standards to create training content that is fully accessible to all learners, regardless of whether they have a disability or not. Understanding that there are many diverse disabilities helps us consider how we can cater for all different learners. We rarely get the opportunity to watch learners with disabilities use our e-learning or discuss their experience, so we need to find other ways to get an insight to how they use our content. You can do this by going on YouTube and watching videos of how a person with vision impairments uses a screen reader, or by uploading screenshots to a colour blindness simulator and to evaluate how people can perceive it. Things like this are going to give you valuable insights. The format of this presentation is going to be split up into 3 tips, and for the sake of this presentation I'm going to go beyond the basics. These tips will be centred around accommodating opposite needs, quizzes and other assessment styles such as drag and drop, and finally videos and audio description. Different groups of learners may have opposing needs, so we need to find a way to accommodate both groups of people. For example, having your on-screen text narrated fully can be very beneficial to learners with dyslexia or learners with low literacy skills, but having the same information presented as audio and on-screen text is not beneficial to the vast majority of learners and can in fact be distracting. You need to know your audience. You can only be sure that a learner has a disability or not when they disclose that information, so provide a means of them disclosing whether they have a disability or not early, just like you would if they had any dietary requirements. To help frame your thinking, we're going to look how the web guidelines, and more specifically the POUR acronym, relate to learning. So what does the POUR acronym mean in a learning context? Let's start with perceivable. You may need to provide alternative text or resources so that a person who has reduced hearing, colour blindness or low vision can learn effectively. When it comes to operable, you may need to rethink some of your interactive content, forms, quizzes, buttons, links and menus to ensure that they work on assistive technologies such as screen readers, voice browsers and braille displays. As for understandable, it's essential that all users can scan your content before choosing their next step and can confidently predict where links and menus are going to take them. Your learning experience should be designed for a range of users on a range of devices, ensuring that everyone gets the same high quality experience, so please don't forget mobile. So, before we move on, here are some questions to ask yourself. Is your content easy to understand and comprehend? If a problem arises, is it easy to solve? Can your learners easily recall or recognise the information they are being presented with? Is the task learners are asked to do completely doable? And is the reading level appropriate for your audience? Remember, disabilities are diverse, so considering a host of accessibility personas is a great way of evaluating your solutions. Next, you need to consider the complexity of navigation and interactions. The navigation of your online courses needs to be simple so that learners can move through it using their keyboards alone. Certain interaction types are not fully accessible for all learners. For example, you ought to avoid complex interactivities such as drag and drop and sortable activities that rely on a learner using and being adept with a mouse, as these will exclude anyone using keyboard navigation. Many learners with visual impairments will rely on screen readers to transcribe text and describe what's on the screen, so try and avoid drop-down lists where possible, since screen readers usually cannot catch them. Multiple choice options are generally good for keyboard accessibility, but do be mindful that small touch points like radio buttons require fine motor skills, so try and make the selection area as large as possible. For example, you might want to add a large clickable background behind your radio buttons to make them a bit easier to click on. When designing quizzes, try to avoid things like matching exercises, short answer questions, and fill in the blank. Those short answer questions are commonly used in webinars, such as answer this in chat now. They don't give the user long to frame their thinking and actually type up an answer. Instead, try to stick to more accessible alternatives such as polls, multiple choice questions, true or false or yes or no statements, and things on the Likert scale, many of which are available in webinar software such as Zoom. Let's now look at videos and audio descriptions. Captions and transcripts are a key alternative to multimedia such as video and audio and must always be built into the experience. Always ensure that you include subtitles of multimedia content. This can be done either through synchronized error-free closed captions with subtitles and audio descriptions, or by including a separate written and downloadable text transcript. This way, individuals with visual or hearing impairments can have an equally as effective experience. Try to keep your transcripts in the same place as the videos if possible, maybe below, and try and keep the formatting the same for the download button so users always know where to look and how to find it. I would encourage all of you to have accessibility on by default. Try to allow people to tailor their experience according to their needs. You can do this by exposing as many of the variables as possible and providing options so that people can select and finally tailor their experience according to their specific needs. The image on the screen is an example of this, and this is from the McDonald's Happy Meal app. When you first access the content, it asks you whether you are using a screen reader, whether you need to increase the text size, or whether you need to increase the contrast to make things easier to read. Developing your e-learning in a similar way will allow people to customize variables such as font size, colors, text, and background color. And this will make your learning much more accessible to a wider audience, which is exactly what you want to be doing. The chances are pretty high that you're going to have at least one disabled learner in every training group. As a professional in this industry, it's your responsibility that everyone experiences training in a positive and engaging way. The best part is, accessible learning design is good for everyone. If you're not already a member, please do come and join the e-learning accessibility community on LinkedIn. This is a place where you can join and become connected to learning professionals that all have a common interest in improving accessibility. Our aim for this forum is to create an area where you can have your questions answered. So, with that in mind, how will you change your development and design processes to ensure that your learning content is accessible? Hope you've learned something new, and thank you for joining me.
Ali Bites 2021.